Hi everyone, we just wanted to do a video today about a few items. So we wanted to talk firstly about the recovery from the greens renovations, where we are and where we are kind of going forward with the greens. So recovery is very good. I've moved the pins this morning actually, and looking at the profiles, the sand has worked into the channels really well. Very nice as well to see some roots hanging out at the bottom of the hole changer at kind of 6-7 inches, which is really encouraging. So the work has gone well in that regard. In terms of the top surface, sand's worked in very well. The grass is kind of knitting in very well and disguising everything. Growth is very good at the moment. The issues we've got at the minute is if we go out in the morning with the kind of dews, we tend to pull a little bit of sand with the cutters and the rollers. So what we're trying to do at the moment is wait until the afternoon, like now when it's dry, come out with the cutters, do some additional rolls and try and get the surfaces back to kind of a nice uniform playing surface for our members. We are still using the secondary cutting units, so you may notice a kind of little bit of reduction in speed, and obviously once we get our premier units out, once the sand's completely gone, we'll kind of get everything back to normal as it should be. So that's everything for now. Any questions, please give us some feedback and let us know, but that's all I wanted to cover for now for greens. Okay, hi everyone. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a series of videos on greens, approaches and tees, talking to you a little bit about the irrigation, obviously the exceptional conditions we're experiencing and what we're doing as additional work to cover ourselves going through this. So firstly, what we're trying to do kind of most days, or when time allows, is we're trying to come out with our moisture meter and this bit of kit we bought last year, which is obviously paying dividends at the moment. So we go across a green, take 9 readings. All that data then comes through onto our phones. I can easily send this information around to all the guys who are out hand watering. They can look at it, know exactly what points on the green are dry, where they need to go. I can also use that obviously when I'm setting water at night to kind of look at areas that need a reduction, so I can kind of take a few minutes off sprinklers, I can increase sprinklers. So that data at the moment is absolutely vital. I said exceptional circumstances, and I think we need to all kind of have a bit of awareness that at the moment England Golf yesterday released a statement saying that this is the driest period we've experienced in over 100 years. Also obviously we're on the point now that it's going to be declared a national drought, so I say that to hope that members will bear with us. If they see dry areas, they're obviously going to be a bit kind of sympathetic towards that. Also obviously we're coming out, as I said, hand watering. We've got wetting agent pellets that are going into our hand watering guns, so when the guys go around each morning, or when obviously we've got the work planned in, they're doing any targeted areas, doing the collars which are browning off at the moment quite badly, so they're doing that additional work. And we are running at night dry greens programs, so we're putting irrigation sprinkler heads on for additional time to what we normally would be. That's more or less covered kind of work on the greens with irrigation. Again, any feedback, comments, please let us know. Thank you. Hey everyone, so now we're back talking about approaches, and we're here down at the third, and I've just fired up the approach sprinkler head so you can kind of see what we're dealing with here. So at the moment, a lot of the approaches on this golf course, with exceptions about 2 or 3, there is one single sprinkler head on the approaches. So what that means at the moment obviously is these heads are all set on 360s, and it's quite difficult at the minute with the losses we're seeing, 2, 3, 4 mil a day, to put back the right amount of loss each day with the run times we've got at night. So basically that's one sprinkler to effectively put down 2 millimeters of water across that approach would have to be on for 19 minutes. And obviously to try and fit everything in at night, I just can't have those sprinklers on for that amount of time. So what we end up doing is just reducing them, and then every other night we put like a dry approach program on. What the guys are doing each day or every other day is kind of coming out, they're doing the collars and the runoffs around the greens, which are the important parts for play. And then any areas like this on approaches, we're trying our hardest to kind of get to those twice a week. But this week, for example, we've just not had the man hours to kind of do them. So as you can see, the approach is nice and green on the front, where obviously the 2 front green sprinklers are helping the coverage, but obviously at the back it's baking off, and as you can see it's quite a nice natural look anyway going into the fairway. But I just wanted to fire that head up, show you obviously the kind of irrigation we've got on the approaches and the difficulty we have in trying to kind of maintain the correct moisture and coverage on there at the moment. So that's approaches. Thank you. Hi everyone, so lastly we just want to talk a little bit about the tees irrigation. A lot of comments I've had this week as of why we're not watering the tees, why the tee's so dry, so hopefully this will answer some of that. So this is the 4th tee, and obviously this is on the list, this is on the course development group's plan to rebuild, and this will be our next one. Once obviously funding is in place, we will get this tee rebuilt. The irrigation on here, so you've got 2 sets of tees which come on one valve. Not ideal. What we'd ideally would like is this on a separate valve from that tee, so we can obviously manage the water a lot better on this tee. You've got 1 sprinkler in the centre of the tee in comparison to 4 sprinklers on most of the new modern tees in the jockey field. Obviously the 17th and 18th have 6, so it's yeah, not enough sprinklers basically. That 1 sprinkler, if I was to try and replace the average loss of day, you know, 50%, 2 millimeters, if I wanted to put that back, that sprinkler would have to be on for 35 minutes. So for me to try and fit that into the run times on the irrigation cycles at night is very difficult. Again, what we've been doing with greens, approaches and tees is we've been doing separate programs for those tees that are really dry to try and give them a bit more water. We have done a few hand watering kind of operations on these tees. The difficulty with that is obviously the valve boxes for these tees on the old part of the course, the common part of the course, they are located on backs of greens. So for example, this one, we would have to run a hose all the way from the 3rd green to here, which is just not achievable during the day to do that, and even at night. People have also asked why don't we do hand pipe watering at night. The issue with this, okay, which is important, is if we were to put hose pipes on here at night and put sprinklers, designated sprinklers on here at night, standpipes, we reduce the pressure elsewhere on the course. So if I've got sprinklers fired up on the greens, approaches elsewhere on the course, having a standpipe on here would take that pressure away and I wouldn't be effectively watering, if that makes sense. So again, we just wanted you to see the situation with irrigation, explain to you a little bit of extra work we're trying to do to support this lack of good quality irrigation, and again, any comments, feedback, please come and speak to us. Thanks. Okay, so the last video to conclude today is focusing on the tees in the jockey field. So if you remember previously, we used to have 1 single sprinkler in the centre like we have on the 4th tee where we've just shown you. And obviously a couple of years ago we had these tees upgraded to now have 4 sprinklers on each corner. And as many of you have rightly explained, and we've obviously brought to your attention, the tees have been noticeably dry for the last few weeks. Basically, we've had a bit of an issue with the sprinklers. Obviously the install was done fantastically by SJS. However, the sprinklers, we've just had a few teething problems with them. And I fired them up today hoping that they would do this problem, but they've fired up correctly and they're working fine, as you can see. But what's been happening is these sprinklers have got a kind of flush mechanism. So when they come up, they do a kind of flushing motion, which basically pushes any dirt out of the rotor, and which obviously helps them to kind of keep working really effectively. But what has been happening is they've been sticking. So obviously during the night when the irrigation program is all fired up, they've been sticking, obviously just bubbling over, and obviously just the corners have been green, as you can see, and the centre not been irrigated correctly. It's intermittent, so basically some nights they will come on perfectly like this, other nights they won't come on at all. So it's been an issue. Rainbird, who are the manufacturer, have been working very hard with us and they've been absolutely fantastic. We've done a number of things to try and get over the problem, and what we're now going to do, or which I'm going to do after this video quickly, is I'm going to change the springs in there. So we now have been supplied with new springs, which basically means that the flushing mechanism is a lot smoother, tension's a lot less on the spring, and we've tried a couple of tees in the jockey field and they seem to be working very well, so we're very optimistic that this is going to solve the problem. What we have done obviously to kind of also help the problem is we've been coming out here hand watering, so we've got hand watering points very close to these tees on the new valve boxes, so the guys have been coming out and doing additional applications of water with the hand hoses. Again, as I've said on the 4th, we can't have standpipes on here at night. In the day the losses are too great, it's a waste of water, and at night it does have a big effect on the pressure elsewhere on the course, so we just can't do that basically. So we're going to turn the video off now, I'm going to change the springs and then we'll fire back up and have another chat. Filming? Okay, so now that we've changed the springs on this tee, we're going to fire it up, and you should see the stutter, that flush mechanism when they first come up, but now they should come up a lot smoother, and hopefully we won't get the intermittent irrigation that we've been seeing. So you had that stutter, that flush, but it was a lot smoother, and they're straight up at the ground. There's no stalling and there's no halting on them. They're up very quickly. We've reset them all just to check that they're all irrigating all the tee surface. So yeah, very pleased with that. Just another 70 to go.